well, testicular fortitude. You know, if you would to say it.
No
to her.
pun intended.
And I tried to bring up the conversation randomly here and there. You know, we'd have sex, and I'd be like, Jesus Christ, I hate my fucking penis, or some shit like that. You know, and of
But
course,
it doesn't sound like your wife hates it.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
you know, and well, needless to say, I pulled the trigger, and nothing happened.
You weren't a good reloader.
Well, you know what? Actually, I'm really good at it. I'll tell you about it in a minute, but I ended up dropping the gun and I left it there. I just left it there for about a week before I went back to it. And about a week after that, she had approached me. I was in and out of the house, you know, and I had come in. It was about 7 o'clock at night. I was chasing daylight at that time because you know how the fucking seasons, man, they kill you when you're a tree guy.
I'm
So
sure.
I was trying to get some estimates done. And I'd walked in the house just to grab a soda, and I was leaving. And she goes, "Hey, I need to talk to you." I'm like, "Well, I don't have time to talk. You know, I kept trying to chase daylight." She goes, "No, we need to talk." And I said, "Okay, well, can it wait?" She goes, "No, it can't wait." I'm like, "Well, what is it?" She goes, "Sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up. We have got to talk now. Cancel whatever it is that you're doing." I said, "All right, fine." So I canceled, rescheduled, you know, and she had that look in her face like she was gonna fucking kill me. I thought my marriage was over right here. Like I thought, you know, the divorce talk. And she sits down on the couch. She goes, "Sit down." I'm like, "No, I'll stand. I'll stand." You know,
Being the man.
that's it. I'll stand. Yep. And so she started talking about how, you know, you're not happy. You know, you're not giving me any of yourself. I've only got this tiny piece of you. You know, I don't want this of you. I want this of you. And she started going on how I wasn't happy and how I'm miserable. And, you know, of course, me being the man, no, of course I love you, blah, 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 blah. You know, the issue is you don't fucking love yourself. So how the fuck can you love me? And she ended her conversation with, "I think you should transition back to a woman." And if you ever watch that cartoon where they just go super fucking pale, that was me. My heart just got wicked hot in my chest, and like I was like a deer in fucking headlamps. I didn't know what to say. Here I'm running through my head. What did I do? What did I say? How does she know this, that, blah, blah, blah? And I told her I needed a couple days to think about it. And, so I took a couple days to think about it, and I had some spironolactone left over, which is again the testosterone suppressant, and that was all I had at that point. And I walked into the bathroom and I grabbed it, and I had 2 pills in my hand. They were 50 milligrams of pop, so 100 milligrams total. And I looked at her, I said, "Okay, I'm gonna do this." And I had walked out and I had shaved my beard off. She had never seen me without a beard. Year and a half, she'd never seen what I look like without a beard. But at this point, I am so stressed, and I'm heavy. I've gained a ton of fucking weight. I'm super stressed. I look nothing like I did when she married me. And she looked at me and said,
Do it.
"I fucking dare you, do it." You know, she was just finally fucking relieved at this point. And so I took it, and of course that started the rest of it. You know, and about a month later, I started on hormones. I found a doctor. I mean, everything seemed to line up like it should have. It was kind of crazy. But back to the reloading thing, I went through all of those reloads. 499 of them all had primers. Every one of them. I had process. I take the shell, I deprime it, I prime it. I put powder in it. I put the tip in it. I crimp it. I throw it in a tumbler. Same process. Doesn't fail. Right? It's fail safe. You just one after the other, one machine after the other. You can't fuck it up. I fucked it
Becomes
up.
routine.
It becomes routine. Well, somehow or another, I missed one.
Wow.
And that was the one out of a handful that ended up in that chamber.
If it's not your time, you can't make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, I'm starting to see some things. There are certain things that come into your life at the right time.
I think so.
You know, you're out on the street, priest or the pastor gives you some money, buys you a meal.
Yep.
You miss a primer, pretty big one.
That's a big one.
That's a pretty big one.
499 rounds later, no primers missed. I ain't missed a primer since.
Well, hopefully you'll never need to
Well,
have it
no,
fail again.
I get that, but I mean, I do my own reloads, you know, and why the hell not? But
That is one of the craziest stories I ever heard. I don't think I've ever heard of a wife asking their husband to transition.
shocked the shit out of me, let me tell you.
But how did you feel when you
I
finally
felt a huge
accepted?
sense of relief. You know, we almost instantly connected. You know, it's like she kept coming up to me, you know, throughout that year. You know, what is it? You know, she'd say, "What can I do to get closer to you? You know, how can we be? You know, how can we be better together? You know, what can we, like, how do we get like this? You know?" And I just kept looking at her and say, "It's got nothing to do with you. It's me. and I had a hard life up to that point, and I spent so much time. Like, you ever walk into a place that you're staying at, like a hotel, and you get that, like, you're at a hotel feeling? That's how I always felt walking, walking in my own fucking door. I own my home, right? We bought a house 2 weeks after after I asked her to marry me. We weren't even married yet, and we bought a house together, and I still felt like it wasn't my home. And I kept telling her, I'll let you know when it happens. I'll let you know when it happens.
Well, it was
And
your home. It's just you weren't you.
Right. And I didn't know if I was ever going to find it because I knew what I
It was
needed.
your house. It wasn't your home.
Right, exactly. It was just a place to stay as far as I was concerned. And like I knew what I needed to be happy, but I couldn't find the testicular fortitude. If you would, to say it.
No
to her.
pun intended.
And I tried to bring up the conversation randomly here and there. We'd have sex, and I'd be like, Jesus Christ, I hate my fucking penis, or some shit like that. And of
But
course,
it doesn't sound like your wife hates it.
no,
Yeah.
she didn't hate it. I was well endowed. There was not an issue there. But somebody like her, you would think you would ask, why do you hate your penis? You would think
no.
somebody would bring that up.
No,
Yeah, of course not.
because I'm not pushy.
She doesn't have a curious bone in her
You're
body.
gonna tell me what you want me to know.
Yep.
You'll get to it.
And post marriage, we had a discussion. I just had tested the water a little bit, and I had a conversation with her, and I said, "Hey, I transitioned, right?" She goes, "Yeah, etc." I said, "What if I wanted to do that again? Like, what if that time ever comes?" And the words out of her mouth was, "Well, I can't promise you forever," because she didn't know enough about it at that point, and I didn't really give any thought to it. But needless to say, I shut the fuck up.
Yeah, no kidding.
That was the end of that conversation. You can't promise me forever. I'm not going through this shit fucking twice. And that's exactly why I ended up just saying, fuck it. I didn't want to live anymore because I couldn't lose everything twice. Like, holy fuck, no way.
Well, you got you got to experience something very rare that very few people get to experience, and it's unconditional love.
Yes. She didn't marry me for my penis, thank God.
Crystal, were you ever involved in any lesbian relationships, or was you just totally straight?
There was one time, but it wasn't for my benefit.
band
It
camp.
was for
One
the
time in band
benefit
camp.
of somebody else. But I honestly wasn't interested in that. So
And now, well, so you start transitioning,
Yeah.
but it wasn't a plan to
Fully
I
transitioned.
don't know.
Just ask it, yes.
Bottom surgery, but you're not going to lop it off. The key component to any law enforcement officer being the best version of themselves is through education. Sherry Alsop is a leader in providing that education to police agencies, preparing them for the all too frequent dealings with sexual assault victims.
You've seen Sherry on episode 169 of the Suffering Podcast. She survived incest and almost daily sexual assault, so she comes from a place of experience and true understanding.
Sherry has the intelligence, commitment, and compassion to open the eyes of those on the front lines, while providing the tools to effectively deal with a difficult situation. Sherry's instruction comes from experience and multiple certifications.
Training with Sherry will offer on-site training, customized schedules, specialized instruction tailored from a victim's perspective.
You are going to hear Sherry's heart-wrenching but inspiring survivor story. Learn proprietary trauma-informed training techniques. Uncovered victim-centered interview methods while earning continuing education credits according to your state guidelines. To be the best, you must learn from the best. Let Sherry also guide you through the delicate cases of sexual assault from a victim's point of view.
Be a source of comfort to those victims affected by these traumatic experiences while producing a solid investigation and uncovering details that often go unnoticed.
To find out more or to contact Sherry Alsop, go to sherryalsop.com. That's SherryAllsup.com.
Well, no, actually, I'm one of those. Something worth doing is worth doing fucking right, but I've always been that way. But I mean, that's not, obviously why I transitioned.
But you
I
can still
looked at
present
her-
as a woman and have a penis.
You absolutely can. There's plenty of people out there that are more than comfortable with their parts, and that's fine. If that's your thing, that's cool. I have a few girlfriends that are trans, and they have their parts, and they're more than happy with it, and that's great. Good for you. But for me, I told you guys, for me, I hated it. It was, both of you said how much of an emotional attachment you have to your penis. Well, I didn't have that. I could have cared less about the thing. Christ, I'd have pushed it off my own fucking kitchen if I could have. You know what I'm saying? But I had that conversation with her. She go, I said, you realize that I don't want to keep this thing, right? And her reaction was just so fucking nonchalant. She's like, oh, yeah, fucking whatever. Don't worry about it. It's cool.
I mean, I had researched for 6 months, so I was like, I know where this is going.
Yeah.
So you decide to do the full surgery.
I did, yes. I had to obviously wait. You know, you have to do, live as a year, etc. You have to follow the way past standards, World Professional Association of Transgender Health. There's actually standards of transition. There's like actual rules you have to follow. But I had gone the time, and I went to Thailand and had it done.
Well, they give you like all psych evals and all that stuff, don't they?
I actually ended up having 4 psych evaluations, 2 here in the United States, and I had to have 2 more when I was in Thailand because of Thai law.
So I know this. I had dealt with somebody who was born a woman, who wanted to transition into a man, and could never get the full surgery to transition into a man because couldn't pass the psychological. There were some mental issues there.
It happens.
There were some mental issues there, and I know that, but I didn't realize. But that was a while ago. I didn't realize that they still need to do the psychological evaluations before you go through the full surgery.
Well, I mean, it's a big deal. It's life changing. You know, I mean, you're altering your body. You're not just, like my breast. I was lucky, right? I didn't have to grow breasts, or I didn't have to have implants. Rather, I grew my breast, right? So, they just grew, and so I didn't have to worry about that.
Look down. Wow, look at this.
Oh, I love
Look
my
here.
boobs. Don't get me wrong.
Looky here.
Look at this. Wow.
Look what happened last night.
Yeah, well, that's why. I mean, I wear a 34 triple D for crying out loud. I did not see that fucking coming.
Didn't make a sound when they popped out like.
No, it fucking hurt though. Let me tell you, I cried. God, did it hurt when they were growing. But you have to follow these standards, and the psychological exams weren't hard. I mean, it's life changing. People who have bariatric surgery have to have that. Yeah. People who have organ transplants, or this, that, the other, they have to have psychological exams. The interesting part about that though, is that a lot of cis people, you would be cis, absolutely love
cis.
Cis means you're born in the gender that you're happy with.
Okay.
You don't want to change anything. Right. So cis man, cis woman, whatever. My wife's a cis woman, and so these people, they have cosmetic surgeries. Breast implants, facelifts, boob jobs, tummy tucks,
Botox,
right? Pec implants or calf implants for men, whatever men want to do, right? Well, you don't have to have a psychological exam for that. You could walk into an office tomorrow and say, "Hey, doc, I want to change my face, man," and nobody's going to say a word to you about it. 65% of all cis people actually regret having some sort of cosmetic surgery. That's a fact. Yet less than 1% of all trans people regret having any sort of gender affirming care.
I thought
so. Who needs the psychological exam?
I thought facelifts don't need it.
I thought there's a community out there of people who have had surgery and regret it and speak up against it.
Man, that is all propaganda bullshit.
Is it?
It is. If you
listen,
ever
I'm
notice,
not searching that stuff.
No, I got you. But if you ever notice, it's always the same 5 or 10 people that are always speaking out. It's never. If so many people are detransitioning, which the detransition rate is about 0.5%, right? So, studies show that 97% of all trans people stay transitioned 5 years later. Of that 3% that's left over, they detransition to say non-binary or stay transition and kind of, identify else. But about 0.5% of that detransitions due to family pressure, societal pressure, hate. But regret is very, very, very small. Most people end up detransitioning because of the pressure of society around them, because society is so fucking unaccepting of trans people, which is the dumbest thing ever, because it doesn't affect anybody's lives but their own. Nobody, and I always say this a lot, nobody is going to wake up one morning and sign up for this. Nobody wants to throw away their wife, their kids, their car, their home, their job, their friends, their fucking dog, for Christ's sakes, and end up with nothing, along with a life of isolation, solitude, ostracization, and discrimination. Nobody is signing up for that willingly, and that is my life. That is what normally I would face had my wife not stayed with me, because most people I know end up losing everything that they've ever known to them. I mean, you can be denied medical care just because you're trans. Getting trans coverage as insurance, fuck that. That's a joke. That's why I pay out of pocket and I go out of country for everything I need. I'm actually going to Costa Rica on the 16th of May for my teeth. I'm having teeth implants put in. I can't afford to do that shit here. $17K in Costa Rica.
Let me pose this question to you. Let's say you approached your wife about transitioning.
I don't know how she would have reacted.
But let's say you did, and she's like, if you transition, we're done. But that's part of you, and I understand it's something you have to do. But you love your wife, you just don't love your body.
I hated myself.
All right, so but what if she were to say, if you transition, we're done? Would you have still done it?
I wouldn't be alive today.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be here. I would rather be dead than live as a man again. I told my wife, and she knows it. I've told everybody, even if she threatened me with divorce tomorrow, I am not detransitioning.
Okay.
But
Well-
that's more or less what happened in the beginning when, we had that first conversation and I said, I can't promise you forever. I was being careful with my words.
And she always is.
Yeah. And she took it to mean not a chance.
Oh, okay. So, but you were still ready to go full bore because you got to be who you got to be.
Well, I was going to be full bore man, and I did that for a year and a half.
So let's get a little bit into the surgery.
Sure.
You go under the anesthesia with a penis.
I go to Thailand. Yep.
You come out with no penis.
Correct.
Did you you got to give me some window into what happened when you opened your eyes?
The first thing I did was feel. I felt down. But when you have that kind of surgery, you are very bandaged after. They actually had they had this hard piece of plastic that started at the top of my pubic area and went all the way down in between my legs, and it just kind of got smaller. It was a guard. It was hard, really, really hard, almost like a plaster of Paris type thing. I don't know what the hell it was.
And you got a catheter in, I'm assuming?
I had a catheter. I had a blood release line. That was all coming out of me, and then I was completely taped up all the way down there. I was kind of pretty much wearing a pair of tape panties at that point, because that's what it felt like. I mean, it was just everywhere. The tape actually hurt coming off.
No, you became a Ken doll.
Pretty much, yeah. I did. The first thing I did was feel down there, but you couldn't really feel anything because you are numb. I mean, you just had fucking surgery, you know what I mean? And it was numb. It wasn't until day 3 that I was actually able to see it, and reality kicked in, and I was just overjoyed, stupid happy.
Well, it's better than the opposite reaction, which is, oh my God, what did I do?
No, I never had that one.
Because you're not taping it back on.
Call the doctor back in.
No, it's funny.
I told her do this.
Yeah,
It'll
doesn't
pop,
work.
it'll pop back
You
out.
should have kept it in a formaldehyde jar or something.
Well, they use parts of it. That's a huge myth, right? So they don't
They don't just
it
lop
off.
it right
no.
off. No.
I was telling my wife it was that easy.
Lorena Bobbitt.
Yeah.
Right, it was that easy. You just magic eraser and fucking got rid of the damn thing. Everybody
Tell me
thinks
that would have been cheaper.
I know, no
quicker.
shit, right?